This podcast is certified fresh. Freshmediaworks.com.
Welcome to the Montgomery ISD Athletics Show, where each week we share conversations about everything that makes MISD athletics so great. Montgomery ISD, in partnership with families and community, will graduate all students with the knowledge, skills, and leadership necessary to thrive as productive and responsible citizens. Athletics play a vital role in student success, promoting physical and mental well-being while developing essential life skills like teamwork, leadership, and resilience that benefit students far beyond high school. The Montgomery ISD Coaches Show is fueled by EAG Automotive, East Texas's MVP since 1977. With 8 locations and a winning lineup of new and pre-owned rides, they bring the heat with hometown hustle and high-performance service. EAG Automotive, where East Texas drives to win. All right, everybody join me in welcoming Wendi Irlbeck to the show. Wendi, how are you?
I'm doing really well, Chris. Thank you so much for having me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. We get to talk about nutrition. I love this. So before we get into what it is you do with nutrition with Wendi, let's talk about Wendi. Where did you grow up? How did you get into this? Do you have an athletic background? What's your story?
Yes, thank you for asking. So I absolutely love sports. I love competition. I've always loved nutrition. I totally nerded out as a kid. I grew up in southeastern Minnesota, farm kid. We did rock picking, all sorts of crazy chores that a lot of kids would say, you picked rocks. Yes. And so when I was doing a lot of these outdoor activities, I started to draw this connection to drinking water and then even certain foods, whether we were eating granola bars before we'd go rock picking or even fruits or cereal. And I just started to question, why do I feel like garbage? And so I just started to dive into the nutrition aspect of it and was Googling and Ask Jeeves. And I started to see the connection between what we eat and how we perform, not only from a athletic performance standpoint, but also a cognitive function standpoint. At that time, I was a kid. I didn't view it that way, but I played high school softball. I played college softball. I ran cross country. I played basketball. Absolutely loved, just the aspect of competing in any regard, running laps around the house as a kid. And so my family always knew that my outlet for stress management was activity. And so the rest is kind of history.
Nice. Well, I have to say you sort of dated yourself by mentioning Ask Jeeves.
I embrace it. I just turned 35. It's Chris, aging is a gift and a blessing.
Amen.
And I honestly, I feel so grateful to the Lord because I didn't grow up with a faith, but I found Jesus later in life. And so part of what really drives me each and every day to help our athletes, coaches, and parents is share the gospel, but then also just help someone, right? Leave people better than when you found them.
Yeah, definitely. And the gospel of nutrition, right? Because that's such a big piece of it.
Yes.
What do you think of all the new science that's coming out? Some pseudoscience, some real science about just things that we used to believe one way now is completely different.
Yeah, I love what you asked too, Chris. And so I like to be humble. It's hard to, talk about myself in a sense, but I think this might help. So for folks that don't know, I am a registered dietitian, nutritionist. I'm a licensed dietitian. I have a master's in food and human nutritional sciences. I'm incredibly well studied, and I'm also a certified sports nutritionist. And all of those accolades mean very little to me because what I've learned, Chris, is that I've studied nutrition, but every day I learn something new. A good scientist, a good practitioner always questions things. And so I think a lot of the information that's coming out is different than what we learned. And I think it's important that we study it and that we meet people where they're at. And so one specific example is people are going keto or they're doing carnivore. I really think that it is a dose dependent. There is no one one size fits all. I have
Hmm.
worked with clients that have had autoimmune diseases, and carnivore has actually worked for them. But if you're a student athlete, you need carbohydrates, you need to eat fruits and vegetables. I think it's really important that people look at things through context and through the lens of what is going on in my life, what are my goals, and then look at the best approach. And I would say fundamentally, we need to eat fruits and vegetables because they reduce inflammation, they fight off cancer. But for some people, there are discrepancies. And so it seems like every day, Chris, there's some ridiculous new supplement or diet. And I always go back to the basics, the low hanging fruit. Are you getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep? Are you drinking at least 100 ounces of fluid? Are you eating 3 to 4 balanced meals per day? Most of the time, people are not consistently eating whole foods. They're not getting enough sleep and they're not properly hydrating. That's where we should be focused.
Right. So yeah, while it's interesting when you're flipping through TikTok and you hear this latest, greatest study, at the end of the day, drink your water, get to bed at a decent time, eat whole
Yes, like
food.
our farmers had it right. They ate real food, they got sunshine, they drank water. They honestly didn't need to go to the gym. They worked on the farm and so they were building muscle. I mean, a lot of us could really benefit, right, Chris, from going back to the basics
Yeah.
with everything that we do.
Definitely. And yes, there'll be a lot of students listening to this, but let's talk about maybe some people who aren't athletes listening to
Yes.
this. What are some of the other benefits other than gaining muscle mass and speed and all the athletic things, the other benefits
Yes.
of really zoning in on your nutrition?
Yes, Chris. And so we've helped a number of clients over the years, parents of the athletes lose body fat, right? Decreasing their visceral fat by eating in a calorie deficit, front loading their calories. One fad is skip breakfast. You should be intermittent fasting if you're over 40. No, our health and fitness programs, Fit Over 40 is what we call it. We've helped a number of men and women lose over 40 pounds in 4 months and keep it off because we've prioritized protein,
Yeah.
eating eggs, chicken, beef, steak, butter. Red meat is not bad. The problem is that most people are eating too many calories and they're not moving their bodies enough. And so, really fundamental things as we get older, our rest and metabolic rate does decrease. And so, I've worked with a number specifically of doctors, anesthesiologists who are incredibly intelligent people, but they work crazy hours. Also, parents, they didn't know what to do. They thought fasting was the right thing. And so, what we did was we started eating real food. We would set timers. Hey, every 3 to 4 hours, get 40 grams of protein in, whether it's from grilled
Mm.
chicken or from steak. Put it in a protein smoothie with Greek yogurt and a third party tested protein powder. Really, Chris, what I would love parents to know is that you should be eating 25 to 40 grams of protein within 25 to 40 minutes of waking up because when we
Yes.
wake up, we're coming from a fasted state and most people's cortisol will fluctuate the rest of the day if they don't get some sort of protein in to balance out their blood sugar levels. And so it's very important that you don't say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. All meals matter. I think a lot of parents and busy professionals, even teachers that we've worked with, have lost weight. They've improved their triglycerides, their cholesterol levels. They've also had better stress management. There's a silent killer, and that's heart disease, right? You could be eating all the right foods, but if you don't manage your stress, getting plenty of steps in, Chris, I think that's important too. People getting up and walking, that helps lower your blood pressure, reducing sodium intake too if you're eating a lot of ultra processed foods, replacing fried with grilled. I know we're in the state of Texas, but I do think that there's a really excessive amount of ultra processed foods, fried foods. And if we just set a goal that, each day you're going to 80% of the foods you eat are coming from fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, you would likely feel better, move better, have less joint pain. A lot of people have these aches and pains that they wake
Mhm.
up, absolutely correlated to the foods that they're eating and the amount of water that they're drinking.
Nice. So the fact that I get up before the sun every morning, go collect my free range eggs, have 3 eggs for breakfast every day. I'm doing it okay.
I love it. Yeah, I would say, Chris, one thing we could add good work with that, pair protein with produce. So you could do some apple slices or berries. Berries are some of the
Yeah,
best. Yeah, so they reduce cholesterol. And a lot of us, as we age, we're fighting off cholesterol increases because of just the aging process is no matter how many things we do, it's still going to be something we all battle.
definitely. And now let's shift gears back to the student athletes. A lot of people think, well, you're young, your body's forgiving, you can eat crap, you can do whatever you want. Talk about why it's so important, especially at this age, to get going in the right direction.
Love that you brought that up, Chris. I think there's a lot of athletes and even workday warriors that are running some 5Ks and 10Ks too. It doesn't matter what I eat, I'm going to burn it off. I'm
Yeah.
active. I really think that's the wrong approach. I think a better approach is, wow, I'm training incredibly hard. I'm sacrificing a lot of time. I'm spending a lot of resources in training and doing this. Why don't I set myself up for success and I'm training hard? Why not get something out of that pain, right? And that discipline. So if you're someone that is eating candy bars and, you know, not really concerned about your protein intake, yet you're training excessively throughout the week, you are essentially self-sabotaging because what we eat is either adding to our inflammation or it's decreasing it. And certain foods around training can actually optimize your strength, speed, and power. And so for athletes that are eating candy as a pre-workout, I would replace that with honey or applesauce.
Mhm.
That's great quick fuel that isn't going to add to the exercise induced inflammation. What you eat actually does matter because we know that from a cellular level, there is exercise induced inflammation. So then if you add in pizza and nachos and you don't eat enough protein, your body is not going to recover as efficiently or effectively. And so we talk about building champions, right? Champions don't do things like other people. They do them
Mhm.
differently. And if you want to perform differently, you want to feel differently, you're going to need to eat and fuel your body differently.
Excellent. And if you could give me a success story of like a male athlete, maybe non-football because everything in Texas is football, that you've got that you can relay to us.
Absolutely. I actually have quite a few, baseball's important too,
Mhm.
but quite a few soccer athletes, less muscle soreness, less muscle cramping, gained 10 pounds because they started eating a second breakfast. That's something I'm big on is, hey, let's eat a second breakfast. That's literally all that they changed. And that second breakfast was Greek yogurt and berries, packed them in mason jars. The whole family started meal prepping. Mom and dad actually lost weight and their son felt better. He had less muscle soreness than prior seasons, and then he obviously gained muscle. And as you know, soccer, they expend a lot of calories. So to actually gain weight in the season is an anomaly.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously it applies to both sexes. Talk about give me a success
Yes.
story from a female athlete.
Yes, one of my favorites is actually Addie, and now she is going to play basketball at the D1 level. And she helped her gain 15 pounds in about 6 months. And she also had less muscle soreness. She wasn't eating breakfast. She was afraid of carbs. She didn't want to eat anything. So we got her into a routine. She started feeling better. She started performing better, all just with those simple changes, one-on-one coaching. Once an athlete trusts you, right, they may not listen to mom and dad, but they will
Yeah.
listen to somebody that, right, was also a college athlete. And if they want to play at the next level, they're motivated and they're bought in because they're like, hey, whatever you tell me to do, right, I'm going to do it. And so Addie was such a gift and blessing to work with because she was coachable. She was willing to make changes. So she was eating a second breakfast. She was also adding in an additional 300 calories per day for her to feel better. And now she's going to go on and play at the D1 level. Addie's one of my favorites because most females, Chris, are afraid of food. They're
Yeah.
afraid of calories, even cross country athletes too. And what can happen when you don't eat enough calories, you can experience low energy, fatigue, stress fractures. It can affect your fertility later in life as well.
Hmm. Yeah. The knock against teenagers is they don't listen, they want to do things their own way, but athletes are a little bit different. But talk to me about the acceptance of this, as you roll this into a school district. How are the kids accepting it?
Absolutely. And Chris, one specific example too, I was in my senior anatomy class and it was, yeah, fall. I was running cross country. I didn't fuel my body properly. I actually passed out during the exam.
Hmm.
And so I share that too with kids like, hey, I can relate to you. I thought I was eating enough, but I wasn't. And that's part of my passion is I want to help parents, athletes, coaches not make the mistakes that I did. And so part of this is teaching these kids that if you want the competitive advantage, you are going to have to start making these changes now. And so when we're talking to schools, like Madisonville, Texas, we worked with them for 6 months. Rusty's amazing. We gave them what to eat before and after training, what to eat before and after games. We did presentations with the parents. We had Q&A sessions. Everybody loved it because they were actually applying those tools and resources, not just to their training, but to game day and then to their lives. And meal prepping as a family, eating at home as often as you can is a life skill because someday you're going to be cooking with your family, right? These kids are going to be future moms and dads and husbands and wives. And the foods that they eat in their youth, those habits are carried into adulthood. And so it's so well received when we partner with the school. People want more of it because they have no formal nutrition education of their own. And so they're getting the real time how to put together high protein meals and snacks. What is a budget friendly way to go to the grocery store and buy in bulk? What are the best anti-inflammatory foods? How to reduce the risk of disease and injuries. I mean, there's so many ways, Chris, that people can benefit from nutrition education. If they're willing to sit down and have a Q&A session, we would love to meet them where they're at.
I love that. And, a lot of people think, oh, this has got to be expensive. This has got to be, the rich schools get this. But talk about the financial. You mentioned that the benefit.
Yes, I love that you brought that up, Chris. And so part of it, how I approach it is number one, I did sports nutrition internships at the UW Stout where I did my master's, but I was also at the University of Florida, had endless amounts of cash to spend on resources. Those kids weren't even picking up often. They were skipping their supplements, they weren't grabbing their workout shakes. The reality is you have to teach them the why, but you have to understand the why for them. And so each school has their own goal. But I always go back to, so you're telling me you're spending money, thousands of dollars on specialized training, all the cool gear, you're spending millions of dollars on a facility, weight room, but the most important part, the nutrition, what they should be eating, you're not going to spend any amount of money on that. Got it. Okay. So then they're like, you know what? You're right. Kids are injured because they're not getting enough fuel to make up the difference, right? In the amount of training and the volume that they're doing. If these kids knew what to eat, how much to eat, and when to eat, they would actually be performing better. Your university, your school would have better kids, more successful, less injuries. You would win more championships if these kids knew how to fuel their bodies. And so the ROI is infinite because they are actually able to perform at the level that you want them to perform, and they can meet you in the training too. You have a certified strength and conditioning coach in there, right, that is leading them through a workout. But if they're gassed, and we've even had kids die, right, in the state of Texas because of heat stroke. If you don't teach them these proper hydration, this is almost a matter of life and death at some point. And so when you look at the injuries, the reduction in muscle cramping, the kids that are performing better, the NIL, I mean, all these other opportunities, when you have athletes that are performing better, it sells itself. And oftentimes coaches realize, yeah, you're right. I've got to spend some money in this area because we've never tried it. And I always say, give us a chance.
Yeah.
And if anything, people always say, I wish I would have invested in this sooner. Our kids need this. Our parents need this. I need this type of deal.
Yeah, healthier kids and less injuries to kids is so much
Yes,
less expensive than the alternative, right? Uh, so
absolutely.
talk to me about high school kids themselves. Where do they generally fall short when it comes to their nutrition?
Great question, Chris. I would say number one, most of the kids are not eating enough high quality protein, carbohydrates, overall calories. Supplements and bars are a big deal these days. And unfortunately, those bars and supplements cannot replace whole foods. You're not getting the same amount of quality nutrients. For example, eggs contain leucine, which is one of the number one drivers for muscle protein synthesis. And so the egg also offers choline, which is essential for brain health and neurotransmitters neurotransmitter production, focus in the classroom. If you are eating some low grade proprietary blend protein bar versus an egg,
Yeah.
that to me is a missed opportunity, right? You should be eating the egg with an apple and some peanut butter. That is a very budget friendly, low quality, or excuse me, budget friendly, low investment prep, right? Because you can buy hard boiled eggs pre made. You can just get an apple, boom. It's fantastic with the peanut butter, and you're getting a variety of nutrients. So most kids are not getting enough protein, vitamin D, calcium, and magnesium. And in fact, those top three are where most female athletes fall short. And that's why they're getting the stress fractures, the repeat injuries, ACL. I mean, all of those issues. So I go back to Chris, most kids, they just need the fundamentals. They need to put some meals and snacks together with the family, grill up a bunch of chicken breasts, put together steaks, do salad bowls, do breakfast burritos, get your fridge stocked with fruits and vegetables because our environment sets us up for success. And I can't tell you too how many kids will say, well, I just don't have time for breakfast, which is a big challenge with kids. And I say, okay, Johnny, show me your screen time. 5 hours. Okay, so you're telling me you spent 5 hours scrolling social media, but you didn't have 5 minutes for breakfast. You never forget to charge your iPhone. Why do you forget to grab your breakfast? I mean, it sets it up. They just like, okay, I hear you. I get it, Miss Wendy. And it's like, I get it. Like I was you, right? We put
Yeah.
ourselves back in their shoes. And that's why we're very passionate, my team and I, about helping these kids. Okay, you want to be on TikTok, you want to scroll social media, fine. Listen to those videos while you're prepping your breakfast
Yeah.
the night before, right? Prep your dinner the night before if you know you're going to be busy. Parents too. Adults are guilty of this as well. They're on phones just
Oh
as
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And so that's just, again, those simple strategies. Setting alarms on your phone. Hydration is a big one. Most kids are not drinking enough water, and that affects, right, their speed, power, strength, their digestion, their inflammation, their injury risk. So set alarms on your phone every 2 hours so that you're drinking 20 ounces of fluid. That's for the parents too, because
Yeah.
I know y'all are walking around dehydrated right now. So if you're listening to this, you need to go grab your water bottle and drink some water.
I love that. And I loved your point about all protein is not good protein. It may,
Correct.
if it's in a bar versus if it's in an egg or, something like that, a chicken breast, the closer it is to its natural form, the better, right?
Yes. Amen. 100%. Keep it simple.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me explain your services, how you work, what you provide, and how people get in touch with you.
Absolutely, Chris. So if you came to us and you said, hey, I'm trying to, get my son to gain weight, or I need my daughter to start eating meals, she won't listen to me. I get this from parents often. I see your stuff on Twitter and my handle is Wendi Irlbeck, nutritionwithwendy.com. They're like, I've shared all of your tips and resources with my son or daughter, but they just won't listen to me. Can you help us? And the answer is always yes. If they are willing to do calls with us, my team and I can meet over Zoom and we can discuss your fueling plan for whatever sport you play, what your goals are, what your likes are, and get those into a structured plan for you that's personalized. And if you're a team, whether it's cross country, soccer, football, you just want someone to come in and speak about pre-workout, post-workout, game day, supplements, hydration, recovery. We can do that as well. We can do a 45-minute Zoom with your program. You get a recording of the Zoom, you get the slide deck, and oftentimes, right, you know this, Chris, we could all say the same thing, but it's more likely that the athlete will listen to somebody from outside. That's just how it is. I don't make the rules. But it's very easy to work with us. And we also have a membership. We have monthly webinars. We have a free newsletter. So if you're someone that's on the fence, and I get it, you've got to know, like, and trust someone before
Yeah.
you invest in their resources. And what I would say too is that you will not meet a more passionate individual than myself. I absolutely love nutrition. I love people. I truly want to help people. And that's why I share so much free content on Instagram as well. And that's Nutrition with Wendi. My goal is that you take away something simple, low hanging fruit, and that you learn something each and every day, which we provide that education. And if you are confused, you want someone to just remove that guesswork, we can show up ready to work hard for you and your program.
I love that. I love that. And give your web address, any contact info.
Yes, nutritionwithwendy.com is the website, and that's Wendy with an I. We have that free newsletter. It goes out every Tuesday. We have, recipes. I have my health and performance playbook. There's the meal and snack guide, right? We're back to school. And so a lot of people are still scrambling on getting into a routine. Hey, my goal, right, is that you don't focus on perfection, but progress. And so those resources, you can download them, you can save them on your phone so that when you're at the grocery store, you know what to get. We are also available to do consults. So I have a team of dietitians, Sophia, Maddie, both ran cross country in college. They're college athletes. They have worked with a lot of females, a lot of parents, a lot of individuals just on refining their schedules. If you need someone to motivate you, I also started a nonprofit here in the state of Texas, Devotions with Wendy. I share a lot of just tips and resources too on, getting your life in order, right? Getting your house in order. And it really does come down to just your environment, right? And so progress, consistency over intensity. We're not perfect. We are not Jesus. So if you're, a parent, you're someone listening to this and you're just feeling overwhelmed, I just want you to know that Jesus loves you. You don't need to be perfect. He just wants you to show up and to love yourself and to take care of your body and to be a good steward of your resources, and that he gifted you and he's provisioned certain things for you, custom to you. And so don't waste those. Don't allow the world to tell you who you are. Your identity is rooted in the Lord, and he really does have a special plan and purpose. And so we have a weekly Bible study that I lead. And I published a Devotions with Wendy. It's a 365-day devotional. The Lord has put my broken life back together so that I can be the Christian dietitian I am today. And I don't claim to be perfect, and I never will be, but I just really want to let people know that you can fail things, you can struggle in life, and you can still succeed and fail forward. And that's a big part of our platform. And, our mission is to help these kids, take some of the pressure off their backs and just let them know, like, hey, you can control your hydration, you can control your nutrition, you can control your self-talk, you can control where you invest your time and resources. And we want parents to know too that we are a source of trust, and that you never have to worry about what your kids are going to see when you come to our pages, because we want a safe place for them to spend their time as well, especially if they're on their phones for over 5 hours a day. And so that's loaded, Chris, but as you can tell, at the end of the day, if Jesus returned, I know where I'm going, and I want everyone else to feel that love too. And that, we don't have to worry about being champions in everything. We just have to show up and exert championship effort.
Excellent. Awesome. So, Wendi Irlbeck, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me and sharing a little bit about what you do with Nutrition with Wendy.
Yes, Chris, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone has a blessed day.
Hey Coach, Lone Star Gridiron has been the leader in Coach's Show podcasts for 20 years, and now you can get your own Coach's Show podcast each week during the season as a fundraiser for your booster club. Yes, booster clubs all over are using these podcasts to help their sports programs. You get to share the stories of your program and your kids to a huge audience and make money. We started with just football, but this year have expanded to make them available for all sports. Call 713-269-4620 to find out the details and get your Coach's Show started.